Imagine this for a moment. A president stands before the nation, promising a new era, one where American workers come first, where jobs return home, and where corporations finally pay their fair share. America first. It was more than a slogan. It was a promise that struck a nerve across the country. But here, the question few dared to ask at the time. If Donald Trump truly believed in putting America first, why did America's biggest corporations continue to park trillions of dollars overseas? While factories closed and communities struggled, corporate money flowed quietly into offshore tax havens, places most Americans will never see but which hold vast amounts of their nation's wealth. So what happened? Was this a strategic compromise? A political calculation? Or proof that even the loudest populist promises collide with a deeper economic reality? To understand that, we have to go back to what America First was actually supposed to mean. When Donald Trump ran for president, his message was simple and powerful. American jobs would come first. American workers would come first. American companies would stop shipping jobs overseas. He spoke directly to factory towns hollowed out by globalization, to workers who watched their livelihoods disappear while corporations chased cheaper labor abroad. The promise was clear. If you make money in America, you invest in America. For millions of voters, this message felt personal. It wasn't about ideology, it was about survival, about dignity, about fairness. But beneath the slogans was a much more complicated reality. For decades, multinational corporations had mastered the art of global profit shifting, earning money in the US while reporting profits elsewhere. Entire business models were built around avoiding taxes legally. So while America First sounded like a clean break from the past, it collided head-on with a system designed to benefit global corporations, not national borders. And that contradiction would soon expose itself. To understand why change was so difficult, you have to understand how the system works. American corporations don't hide money under mattresses. They move it on paper. A company might design a product in California, manufacture it overseas, and then shift ownership of its intellectual property to a subsidiary in Ireland or the Cayman Islands. That foreign entity then charges the US branch fees, allowing profits to magically disappear from American tax records. The result? Billions in revenue, legally untaxed by the United States. By the time Trump took office, American corporations were holding more than $2.6 trillion offshore. This wasn't a loophole used by a few bad actors. It was standard practice, protected by law, encouraged by accountants, and quietly tolerated by government. So when Trump promised to bring the money home, he wasn't just challenging companies. He was challenging an entire financial architecture. And that brought him to a crossroads. From the outside, the solution looked simple. Why not impose a massive tax on offshore profits? Why not force corporations to pay up? The answer lies in power and fear. Corporations aren't just economic entities, they are political forces. They fund campaigns, shape policy, and influence markets. A sudden, aggressive tax could have triggered massive backlash, market instability, and capital flight. There was also a deeper irony. Donald Trump himself had built his fortune using the same tax strategies he criticized. He understood the system because he benefited from it. So instead of confrontation, the administration chose compromise. Rather than punishing corporations, it offered them a deal. And that deal would reshape the American economy. In 2017, the Trump administration passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. The corporate tax rate was slashed from 35% to 21%, one of the largest reductions in U.S. history. At the same time, companies were offered a one-time, deeply discounted tax rate to bring offshore money back home. The promise was clear. Lower taxes would encourage investment. Investment would create jobs. And workers would benefit. On paper, it worked. Trillions of dollars were officially repatriated. But in reality, much of that money never reached workers. Instead, corporations used it for stock buybacks, boosting share prices, and executive bonuses. Manufacturing investment remained limited, wage growth stayed modest. The money came back, but it didn't trickle down. And that gap between promise and outcome revealed something deeper. The biggest winners were clear. Shareholders saw record gains. Corporate executives collected massive bonuses. Stock market soared. Meanwhile, everyday workers saw little change. Wages rose slowly, costs rose faster, and economic insecurity remained a constant reality. The wealth gap widened. What was sold as an economic reset became another chapter in a familiar story: profits privatized, risks socialized. The system didn't break. It worked exactly as it was designed to. And that leads to the most uncomfortable question of all. Was this a failure of leadership or a deliberate strategy? One interpretation says Trump missed a historic opportunity. With political momentum and public support, he could have challenged corporate power in ways no modern president had dared. The other interpretation is more unsettling. Maybe the goal was never to dismantle the system. Maybe the rhetoric was populist, but the policy was always meant to preserve the existing order, one where markets stay calm, donors stay happy, and the system remains stable. In that light, America First wasn't about economic revolution. It was about managing expectations. And that realization forces a broader question, one that goes beyond any single president. Today, the same issues remain unresolved. Governments around the world struggle to tax multinational corporations. Global minimum tax agreements face resistance. Inequality continues to rise. Capital moves freely, workers do not. The challenge is no longer about left or right. It's about whether modern democracies can govern global capitalism at all. The Trump era didn't create this problem. It exposed it. And it left behind a question that still hangs over the global economy. So here we are. Was America First ever truly about putting American workers first? Or was it a powerful slogan built on an economic system that was never meant to change? That question doesn't belong to one political party. It belongs to all of us. Because the real issue isn't who sits in the White House, it's who the system ultimately serves. If you found this breakdown valuable, share it. If you disagree, join the conversation. And if you want deeper, clearer analysis of the forces shaping our world, subscribe for more. Because understanding power is the first step toward challenging it.